the recording's already in progress. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Sports on the Positive Tip podcast. This is Kenny and
Kenny Squared.
But Kenny, we got somebody else up in the corner there. How did this guy get in?
Yeah.
Somebody else came in through the back door.
I don't know who let me in.
Yeah. Folks, welcome in Chris Polzella, Pastor Chris Polzella. Man, it is great to have you on. How are you, man?
Awesome, man. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to talking about the Mets and how terrible they're doing. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. I have to vent somewhere. So.
Hey, this will be a place to vent, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, hey, welcome, man. Let's jump right in. And Kenny always gives us a little bit of update of the Midwest there. So how are things? What's the pulse like there in Cleveland?
Really, the pulse is completely off of the Indians.
Yeah.
It's still very much towards the Browns, which, hey, I'm excited for. I feel like there's still a lot of hype for them. They had this weird fight with the Giants in an inter-squad thingy, but I mean, everything kind of is still seeming good. I think so long as everybody stays healthy, people will still be optimistic. If, let's say, like Jarvis Landry goes down, Chubb goes down, everyone's going to freak out. But I don't know. Everything kind of is moving towards them. Even basketball, too. Like, no one's talked about the Cavs, even though, like, they had the number 3 overall pick. So,
wow. So a lot of excitement about the Browns. I couldn't say, maybe Chris will agree with me here. There doesn't seem to be a ton of excitement about neither the Giants or Jets here. I think Zach Wilson, there's probably a little bit of excitement about him, but yeah.
I think Judge kind of has that Belichick vibe, right? So not a whole lot of excitement, kind of business as usual with them, kind of feels like.
Yeah, kind of workman-like thing. I mean, I think I saw an article about Daniel Jones, expecting big things from him obviously this year, but really not much. Actually, they played each other, right? Which usually that was a big preseason game, and I don't even know who won. So
I don't think they played the starters, right? It was kind of one of those things, but
yeah. Well, there's going to be plenty of football to talk about.
There is. Speaking of Nick Chubb, he's my fantasy keeper, Nick Chubb. So
nice.
I'm expecting big things from him.
Yeah.
So he really can't get hurt, man.
No, please.
Yeah, he's a beast. He really is. He's a good player. All right, so let's just jump into the Mets again. 2 teams, couldn't be going more in the opposite direction. And so where do we want to start? Do we want to start Mets first? I got to get Chris's take on this, on the Mets. And listen, it was a good win yesterday. It really was, and maybe there'll be some momentum. But the Mets started the month 3.5 games up. The month of August, 3.5 games up, and they're now 7 games out. That's hard to do. The Braves got hot. I give them a lot of credit. The Phillies were hot for a while, but the Braves, some of these guys they picked up at the deadline really have paid off for them. But Chris, in your opinion, what's gone wrong here?
The offense went missing, right? It was the offense, but obviously it coincides with Jacob deGrom going down. Not having that stopper every 5 days makes these losing streaks just go on and on, right?
Yeah.
So obviously he's hurt. I don't think Lindor did all that much before he got hurt. However, they did suddenly stop hitting completely when he got hurt. So he was doing something right. And I think it's just the West Coast, man. Whenever they play those teams, it kills them every year. I don't know what it is, but the Dodgers, the Giants, they cannot beat those teams. And I was nervous going into that trip. I didn't think it was going to be, 1-8 did they come to? 2-8?
They won 2. Yeah, they won 2.
2, but and painful losses. Those first few with the Dodgers, they should have won those. Yeah. They should have won, just not hitting with guys in scoring position. Just the whole offense went cold, just unbelievable. And it's just very Met-like, to just be 3.5 games up, like you said, and then suddenly 7 games out going into September. Like, how does that happen? That's like being 7 games up going into September and losing the division, like in 2007, It doesn't happen. That stuff doesn't happen. But
yeah, it's
here
all
we
the team.
are. They're doing they're doing it again.
So, you know, because Kenny's watched this all these years with me, he kind of understands, but you really understand because you're a Met fan,
Yeah.
and we just always expect for something else to happen.
Yeah. I mean, my friends all this time were like, "Oh, the Yankees, they're doing terrible. The Mets are in first." I'm like, just calm down. Yankees are a good team. They're gonna get hot. You know it's gonna happen. I didn't think they were gonna go. What did they win? 18 out of 20 or whatever they're doing right now.
Amazing.
It's unbelievable. But
Yeah.
I didn't think the Mets would just fall this far so quickly. But they have certainly done that.
Wow. Well, tell me if you find this frustrating like me. The defense has been really good, and the pitching, for the most part, has been good as well. I
Yeah.
mean, Walker, you know, he had his bad streak. Stroman's been fantastic.
He's been good.
The bullpen has had its moments here and there, but overall, they've been really good.
They've been solid, though. Yeah. It hasn't been the bullpen.
But I think all of that has made it even more frustrating because we get guys on base and they just stay there.
They can't finish it.
They can't finish it.
You look at, I mean, McNeil, I mean, what is he hitting? 240?
Yeah.
And Conforto is a joke. I hope they do not re-sign Conforto. Please do not re-sign Conforto. He's not a clutch player. I've watched him for too long. I'm very down on Conforto. I feel like Alonso he's been fine. He's gonna have a decent year. He's gonna hit 30 home runs, 100 RBIs. He's been good. Nimmo's been pretty good. I can't complain about Nimmo. Obviously Baez has been hurt. Lindor's been hurt. JD Davis has been hurt. He's been streaky. Hasn't really done much.
He can't hit a fastball, JD Davis. I don't understand that.
I don't get it.
That strikeout on Saturday against Scherzer, I mean, they had Scherzer, Kenny. I don't know if you saw any of that.
Yeah.
But this is hard to do. They had Scherzer on the ropes. They got the bases loaded. It was 3-0. They got 2 runs in that inning.
Yeah.
It's 3-2. They were ready to bust it open. And Scherzer just, you know, there was something that in him, he's such a smart veteran that he said, Davis can't hit a fastball. I'm going to throw him not 1, but 2 right down the heart of the plate at only 96 miles an hour. Now, listen, I couldn't hit a 96, but a major league hitter should be able to lose that. And the first one he took, it was right at the knees, and he took it. You figure he's got to be geared up for the second one. The second one, he swung very late, but it was right down the middle, and it wasn't Scherzer of 5 years ago throwing 98, 99. It was. I mean, I've been down on him a little bit. He got a couple of big hits yesterday, so I'll give him credit. He bounced back yesterday.
He did.
Home run.
He did.
Home run yesterday, and he's probably looking at some reduced playing time when Lindor comes back. What are your thoughts on Baez?
So I read an article today that said, you know, Baez is hitting himself into re-signing with the Mets, and that's a little crazy. What did he have, a double yesterday? He just came back.
Game, you know?
I know.
Yeah.
What I'll give Baez is he has the look of a big power hitter, you know, like a Cespedes, like a Delgado, a Piazza. He has that look when he comes to the plate. He strikes out too much, though, for me. I'm not crazy about him. I think he can change the game, but you've got to have hitters around him. And right now they don't. They're just relying on him. And that's scary because he just strikes out too much. Yeah. He's all or nothing. And I can't. I don't know.
Yeah. I think I'm at the same place with Baez. I would have, and this is not second guessing. I told Kenny this before. I would have rather had Chris Bryant because I felt like he's much more versatile and he's just a more of a winning ball player. And so is Anthony Rizzo from that team.
Yeah.
Baez has a world of talent, but I don't know why he's become like an all or nothing player. This is hard to do. He was out for almost 3 weeks and he still leads the league in strikeouts.
That's
wow.
Now listen, when he's on, he made those slides yesterday, 2 of them, one in the second base, and I love the hustle because I didn't think he was going to score. And then I definitely didn't think. I mean, he just kept running. When he got like Kenny, he got like a base hit that was a little bit into the gap, but he just turned first base and said, "Hey, I'm going to second." And that rattled the Dodger pitcher because the next pitch is when Davis hit a home run. But it was just a phenomenal slide. He's done that a few times. So he's got some swagger and everything, but I just love to see more consistency. Cespedes backed it up, for the most part. Yeah.
Oh, he carried that team 2015.
He did.
I mean,
he did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He did. Well, before we get to Kenny and the Yankees, what's your prediction here? I mean, I mean, the owner already showed he's got a little bit of Steinbrenner in him, right? Because he tweeted. Imagine if Twitter was around when George Steinbrenner was the beginning. Man. But listen, he called them out, and to Lindor's credit, he said, "You know what? He's right. We have stunk." And Lindor at least said, "It's been, I'll start with me."
Yeah.
But what do you think here? Do you think that win might get them turned in the right direction here? I mean, they do have a lot of games with the Nationals and with the Marlins, but they haven't been able to beat the Marlins still this year either. But they've been able to handle the Nationals pretty well. Do you think there's a shot here? And that's question one. And question two is, if they finish like this, what do you think happens at the end of the year?
So it's tough because I don't think they have any games with the Braves left, right? I'm pretty sure they're out.
Yeah.
Three, okay. And then 3 with the Phillies, I think. Yeah. And of course, you got to have the Yankees in there too. 3 games in September, of course, right? But very Met-like fashion, this is what's going to happen. They're going to get close. They're going to get within 2 or 3 games. They're going to give us hope going into the last week or 2 of the season. And then they're going to there's going to be a losing streak at the end there. We're going to be about 6 games out at the end. Guaranteed. That's just, I feel it already this year. I don't want to feel it, but I just know that they're going to give me that little bit that I'm going to watch it, but then they're going to go up in flames. It's just going to happen. DeGrom, I don't think is going to come back. I don't have a good feeling about him coming back. Syndergaard, I don't know what he's going to give you if he comes back. So there aren't, other than Lindor, I don't know who's coming that's going to really rescue this season. So I think they're going to do that. I think if they finish 6 games out or so, I wouldn't be shocked if Rojas was fired. I think Cohen, he might do that. He didn't bring him in, right? This isn't his guy. This isn't Sandy's guy either. So I could definitely see there being a managerial change there, because they would have definitely underachieved. Being in first place all that time that they were, you need to make the playoffs. So if they didn't, I'd expect something to be shooken up about this team. They're going to shake it up, I think. I wouldn't be surprised, but we'll see. There is a lot of games left. So, but they have to win the division. They're not going to catch the wild card. No. There's too many teams, too many good teams.
Yeah.
So
I can't say I disagree with anything you said, unfortunately. So,
you know it.
They'll make a run in September. I do agree. I like 2019. They played great. In they had the best record in the second half, but they've fallen so far behind.
But they had Diaz, who they still have, who they're still closing games. So he might implode at the end here. We'll see.
That's true. Aside from that little streak he had, he's been really good. He had that one where he had 3 games where he just, I don't know what happened those years. And he's pointing like it was a pop-up on these home runs. I don't know one that Bryce Harper hit. He's like, oh, it's a pop-up to the infield. And it was like 430 feet. All right. Well, Chris, let's get to a more happier fan. And that's Kenny and the Yankees. So give us a rundown here. And you got some of these guys it's been unbelievable how COVID has hit the Yankees this year. But the Yankees just seem to overcome, and they just really got it in gear here after the All-Star break. So, we're rooting for them tonight because they're playing the Braves, right?
Yep.
But you said that was an interesting stat. Tell Chris the stat you sent me about Yankees Braves.
Yeah. So also before I get there, I was just looking this up, kind of curious. So obviously Pete Alonso leads the Mets in home runs. You want to take a guess at who's number 2?
Well, we know
Jonathan VR.
Jonathan VR, yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. I didn't realize that.
It should Conforto should have 20, 25 home runs at this point, right?
Good, yeah.
It should easily be Conforto. Dominic Smith should have 15, 16 at this point.
McCann should have 15. Yeah.
McCann should have
Yeah,
15.
they're paying McCann
Absolutely.
for that too.
Yeah. Lindor's been hurt and he's got like 10,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, at VR, I really like him. He's been a really solid, bench player for them. He's definitely going to go back to the bench now with Lindor coming back. But yeah, that's a sad stat that he's second.
That's a really sad stat.
Yeah.
But so the stat I saw earlier, the Yankees and Braves are both entering tonight with a 9-game winning streak. It's the first time since 1901 that two teams are facing off with that such a long winning streak there.
Wow. That's great.
It was the Pirates and the Phillies. Yeah.
Wow.
So kind of a crazy, like, it's one of those like, oh, that's one of those odd stats. But yeah, I don't know what the deal was with the Yankees and COVID. I don't know. Like, I feel like there hasn't really been another team that's been hit as hard with at least like COVID stuff, plus all of their injuries too. Like Urshela has been hurt now a month. Gleyber Torres is still gonna be out a few more weeks. Domingo Germán has kind of vanished a little bit. Severino wasn't feeling good, and then like they shut him down. He still hasn't pitched now in 2 years. But the Yankees keep figuring out a way to do it. The biggest guy this week has been kind of like the heart and soul guy, Andrew Velasquez, who grew up in the Bronx, grew up like a Yankee fan. I saw a picture of him like on the old Yankee Stadium field and like a Yankee t-shirt and everything. He had a couple of huge hits against the Red Sox, and then also had not a big home run, but he had his first major league home run on Saturday in front of his family. His family was like bawling and everything. It's one of those like feel good story type of things. Yeah. But I think just in general, like, honestly, I didn't think the Yankees would sweep the Red Sox as they did. The Red Sox made a lot of bizarre moves. They're a team kind of on their wheels are falling off too, because they had a pretty good secure on first place, and really since the All-Star break they haven't done anything.
Had a big win today though. I think a 12-inning walk-off grand slam today, if I saw that right. But the Red Sox haven't totally fallen apart like the Mets did, So
yeah.
They're still in it. Yeah. They're still in it. Yeah.
They're still in there. But yeah, it's good because it also seems like a lot of the COVID guys, like Cole, I didn't realize he's second in the league still in ERA. He's actually still looked pretty good. Montgomery's pitching tonight against the Braves. Hopefully he can give you 7 shutout innings for you guys. And Rizzo's also kind of looked pretty good. It's also going to be very interesting what they do at first base. Luke Voigt has made it kind of an interesting, one of those good problems to have. Because he was actually named player of the week, I believe. He had like 4 home runs or something like that. Yeah. And he even flat out said, like, I still deserve to play. And really, to me, the best lineup is him at DH. Rizzo's a better defensive first baseman anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how Boone kind of works that out. Because Rizzo didn't really say anything about it, but also like Voigt's been there for now like 3 years, and Rizzo's kind of the new guy on the block. But also, it's Anthony Rizzo. So
well, yeah. Listen, I wouldn't trade Voigt, which I've heard that talk. Like if they do re-sign Rizzo, I'm figuring out where I can play him at. But I had a quick question. You mentioned Aaron Boone. Speak about the job you think he's done this year.
Honestly, I thought that if like you look at probably end of June, I was like, he looks like a manager that's on his way out. Because I think also Brian Cashman was probably kind of feeling the hot seat a little bit. But really, like, I feel like he's done a good job in kind of keeping these guys engaged. because like when you're 42 and 40, you're kind of looking very flat. Like they've kind of changed their style of play. Like you were talking about Javi Baez earlier. I think that's one of the things the Yankees were missing earlier this year is like the base running. I forgot exactly the stat, but I think it's that they lost like 6 runs in the first month or something like that on the base paths.
Well, they were terrible.
It's probably more than that.
Yeah.
They were absolutely horrible. In the first half, I believe they stole as a team like 25 bases or so. And they've already met that total in like these last 6 weeks since the All-Star break. So like and part of that is like when you have a lot of guys on COVID IL, like guys like Greg Allen, Jonathan Davis, Velasquez even too, Tyler Wade getting more time, like you're going to steal more bases, but even guys like Judge, Gleyber Torres, he actually hurt his thumb sliding into second base. Like once you kind of start seeing that turn where they're actually a little bit more aggressive, they actually play defense and actually have like that balance. It seems like this team has kind of turned a corner. And I think Boone has done a good job of like keeping guys healthy and then also like kind of keeping the egos in check. Cause like Judge and Stanton both, knock on wood, have stayed healthy so far this year. And that's really big because actually I saw that Stanton hit a home run. It's tied at 1, by the way. Dansby Swanson also hit a home run.
Let's go Yanks. But I have to say,
yeah.
Maybe Chris feels the same way. I was really down on Mike Stanton, and I want to see him do well. And I'm really, really amazed at what he's done the last couple of weeks. Actually playing in the outfield, which he hadn't done for a couple of years, right? And he's hitting like because I think when we pulled up his stats a few weeks ago, he had 14 homers and 40-something RBIs. I'm like, what happened to this guy, man? He's like 59 home runs, not more than 3-4 years ago at the most. And I know he's had his share of injuries, but looks like he's back on track.
Yeah. I feel like, and they said, I think it was David Cohn had said this on the broadcast. It seems like him actually playing the outfield as opposed to just DH has kind of helped his hitting a little bit. So he's not just like sitting there concentrating on how he just struck out 3 times in a row. Like he's out there in the field. So
I think there's certain guys that could. There's certain guys that could do the DH thing and certain guys that can't. Like Alonso hated DH last year. But like you look at Big Papi, Edgar Martinez, guys like that over the years. Stanton probably is true. So Chris, what are your thoughts on the Yankees?
It never surprises me that they turn it around somehow every single year. But to Kenny's point, I mean, Voigt's playing well, right? Rizzo is playing well. I think Rizzo was a big pickup. I think he's a steady presence in that lineup. He's won before. He's won the World Series. He's a good veteran. That was a really good pickup, I think. The pitching has stabilized. They've gotten guys healthy that have come back, obviously. And Judge, I think staying healthy is huge. I do think he's the heart and soul of that team. So him being healthy and playing every day, I think is huge. The past few years when he's gone down, I think that's hurt them tremendously. So I'm not surprised that I'm surprised they're doing as well as they are right now, because they did look like they were about to be, done for the year, to Kenny's point, when they were 42 and 40, 9 games out, couldn't beat the Red Sox, couldn't beat the Rays. And to their credit, I mean, they've turned it around tremendously. So I'm surprised that they are doing as well, but at the same time, they should have been probably all along playing this well. I mean, they're a talented club, they're finally playing up to the level that they should be. But they're doing it at the right time. They're getting hot at the right time. So I'm not surprised. I know they're going to be in the playoffs. I believe it. I expect it.
That more balanced lineup helped them, right? Getting Gallo and Rizzo left-handed hitters, that's definitely helped immensely as well.
Gallo too,
The American League overall, what do you two guys think? I think just the playoffs in the American League are going to be just unbelievable. I mean, you've got 5, 6 excellent teams that I could see any of those teams in the World Series, right? With the Astros, the A's, Yankees, White Sox, Red Sox, and the Rays are unbelievable. You know, I don't know how they keep doing it.
Yeah.
They're just and they have no pitching pattern. They just throw out there whoever. You know, like they don't have. I think they have what, 1 or 2 starters, actual starters. Whereas at almost every game is like a full bullpen game, and they'll bring guys up for like 1 or 2 games and send them down. It's just, they're just a strange team. But I expect the Yankees. I'm with Chris. I expect the Yankees to keep going and you know, and definitely expect them in the playoffs. And they need to win in the playoffs for a change, though, man.
That's
you
true.
know,
yeah.
and I'm not down on them. At least they make it. You know, other than that,
Sure.
and then our
The
team,
Whites-
you know. Yeah.
I think the White Sox are going to be tough for them, though. I think that's going to be the team to beat in the AL.
Yeah.
That Field of Dreams game was awesome. If the
That was
playoffs are
unbelievable.
like that, that's going to be cool.
That would be great.
Yeah.
This is the Reds and Cubs, right? They're going to be next year's Field of Dreams game. And
Yep.
I meant to catch the Little League one last night, and I didn't see any of it. The Angels and Indians. They played in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. They played, but I didn't see any of that. I know that probably was fun too. All right, enough of that. Let's move on to. We had a discussion a few weeks ago about the best right-handed hitter of the era, right? And so 90s, thousands, you know, from 90s on. So we're eliminating the Frank Robinsons, the Hank Aaron's, the Willie Mays, you know, any other, you know, Joe DiMaggio. And we had narrowed it down, Chris, to Frank Thomas, Miguel Cabrera, who obviously you texted me yesterday, he hit his 500th home run, unbelievable career, straight to the Hall of Fame, first ballot. And Pujols, and we both said that Pujols, in our opinion, he just had a 10-year stretch there with the Cardinals that was just unbelievable. But I neglected to bring up any of the other 2 guys who I think were just outstanding hitters, but maybe it was because of the steroid stuff. Probably wasn't. I didn't bring it up. So, Chris, want to get your opinion and throw in the mix Manny Ramirez, and who's not even sniffing the Hall of Fame, by the way. And A-Rod. A-Rod, I don't think is getting in either, but I know Manny's not getting in with he got caught so many times. But those guys were just great. I don't know why they did steroids. That's a whole other show, right? That we could talk about playing. Because they were both just great players, you know, before. So Kenny, is it worth throwing those guys into the mix? Or I think, Chris, you might even have somebody else.
I do. You know, the best hitter I'd say that I've ever watched, I think, would be Vladimir Guerrero. He was just unbelievable that he can hit anything over his head, at his feet. I mean, just unreal. I love that he didn't wear batting gloves. He just went up and he just hit. And he just was amazing. His arm was incredible in the outfield, but as he was just such a pure hitter. As a right-handed hitter, I loved watching him play. I always wanted the Mets to get him. He was unbelievable. So I would definitely throw him in the mix. He might not be at Pujols level simply for the power, but I think he could hit with any of those guys, though. I think at his prime, you know, I think he was that good.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how we forgot him, and I can tell Kenny's face. He's pulling up his stats right now. So give us a couple of Guerrero years.
All right. Well, and I think this is surprising because, okay, so first I'll stick with his MVP season 2004. 337, 391 on base, 598 slugging, 39 home runs, 126 RBIs. But listen to this 3-year stretch from 99 to 2001. 316, 42 and 131. 345, 44 and 123.
He batted 307. Wow.
Yep. On base of 410 too that year. And then 2001, 307, 34, 108. I'll go another year. 336 with a 417 on base, 593 slugging, 39 home runs, 111 RBIs. So
wow. I think he stole like 40 bases too that year, or 35 or something.
Yep, he stole 40.
Right,
He
he had a
was
big 40.
one shy of 40-40.
Oof.
How did we leave him out? I forgot about him.
I don't know.
He
He
had some
might have
amazing.
it there.
So that 99 through 2001, 2002 stretch was with Montreal.
Yeah, all of Montreal.
When did he go to the Angels
So-
in 2003?
2004. First year he was there was when he won the MVP.
So he missed their championship year though, right? They won the title in 03, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 02.
02, yeah.
They won in 02. Okay. Okay.
He
So was a
almost
couple
went to the Mets that offseason too, but they were
Yes.
worried about his back. Do you remember that?
I do.
They were worried
Yeah.
about his back, and then he wins the MVP. So
Yeah.
typical.
I remember Mike Francesa and the Mad Dog getting Jim Paquette on their show and just lambasting him for not signing Guerrero. It just, I mean, I felt bad for him. They tortured him for a good 20 minutes, just like, because Mike Francesa loved him.
Zambrano instead.
Yeah. Oh God.
That was that
They-
offseason, I think it was.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure they signed somebody, Jason Bay or somebody like that. Instead of Guerrero. Wow. All right. So Chris brings up a great one to throw into the mix. It's just hard to beat Pujols' numbers though for that 10, 12-year stretch.
Yeah.
And Cabrera has been unbelievable too. But I mean, do we consider Manny and A-Rod, whose numbers were just off the charts? I mean, we kind of know exactly when A-Rod started taking steroids because he admitted it, right? So those years in Texas, right? Didn't he start taking it like his second or third year in Texas, I think is what he said.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can look at his years. We just don't know when he stopped,
He never stopped.
Yeah, it seems like he never stopped.
Yeah.
But I mean, Manny, was he taking it when he was with the Dodgers? I don't think he was taking it when he was with the Red Sox, right?
No, he was on the Mitchell report.
Yeah.
Oh, he was on the Mitchell report when he was with the Red Sox?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he was.
So
it was Ortiz, right? But we don't talk about that. He's good.
Yeah.
He's their hero, man. He's going into the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt. He's even though his name was on there.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a different discussion, but do we consider those guys as two of the best players ever, two of the best hitters ever?
I think
No.
personally, I think you have to, and especially if you look at A-Rod's. I don't like A-Rod, right? Let me just put that out there. But if you look at his numbers, you can't deny him though. He was a better hitter than Jeter. I know that's hard to hear, but he was, and he was a better shortstop too. But you can't. I mean, if Kenny, I'm sure if you have his stats too, he had some ridiculous years. Probably from 03 to 07 or just unreal. I think his stats were just unbelievable. And Manny too. I mean, Manny was just a pure hitter. I mean, that guy kind of on the Vlad, he was on that level. He just, you couldn't get him out. He just was unbelievable. Yeah.
The big difference to me, because I was thinking Manny Vlad the same way with the hitting, but Manny had he totally didn't want to play defense or anything. Was that Guerrero was such a complete player, you want to do some of A-Rod's years real quick?
Yeah. So I have his average from 2001 to 2007. So 7 seasons. His batting average over those years was 304. He averaged 47 home runs and 130 RBIs.
Over a 7-year period?
Wow.
Yeah, and 3 of those years he played every day. He had 162 games. But I'll start with some of the MVP years. 318, 52, and 135. I see why Guerrero didn't win the MVP there. Because also A-Rod finished 6th. Imagine having that number finishing 6th in the MVP voting.
Wow.
Let's see. 2002, he batted 357 home runs, 142 RBIs. Finished second. I don't even know who won the MVP in 2002.
I don't know how you beat that number, those numbers.
And he led the league in both home runs and RBIs. 2001, actually, now I'm thinking about it, the 318, 52, 135. 2001 would have been Ichiro.
Okay.
And he set the record for hits in a season. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
2003, this is his first MVP year, 298, 47, and 118. And then he gets traded to the Yankees. I'm going to go to 2005, his second MVP season, 321, 421 on base percentage, 48 home runs, 130 RBIs. And then, of course, 2007. Let's look at this here. 314. He was also 422 on base, 54 home runs, and 156 RBIs.
Oh my gosh,
man!
I mean,
probably winning the Gold Glove too. Probably it's unreal.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was such a complete player, and you said something else, that he played every day. He was so durable. He never got hurt. Except there towards the end. But I mean, why did he take? I mean, he would have walked into the Hall of Fame. I mean, why take the step? The thing is that even with him kind of, being disgraced with all this stuff, especially then he denied it, and sort of like Ryan Braun, right? Who's probably even worse. But I mean, look at A-Rod now. I have to say, I know Chris said he doesn't like him. I find him as an announcer, I'm finding like he talks a lot, but he knows the game, man. Because obviously I'm not sitting around watching every ESPN game, but the Mets and Dodgers, that game, obviously I watched him beginning to end. He was so insightful. There was one swing Brandon Nimmo had. No one ever criticizes Brandon Nimmo because he's such a complete ball player. But he said, that's a terrible swing with the count 2-0. And it was. He kind of took a half swing and everything like that. He knows the game inside and out, in addition to, like, I'm surprised he's still doing the announcing thing. There's no way he needs the money. Like, what does he do with that paycheck? He's just like, send that somewhere else. I don't really need it. But yet you can tell he comes prepared. He works hard, but I don't want to get off the subject, man, but it's tough. I mean, his number's actually better than Pujols in a lot of those years. And what was the other thing that Chris pointed out with Guerrero, with his, or Kenny, you read the stat, with his on base, he never walked because he swung at everything. So his on base was legit hit. He hardly ever walked. A lot of seasons, I think he had 10 walks, stuff like that. So that's a tough one, man. Right now I'm staying with Pujols, but I got to rethink that a little bit with A-Rod.
Also, 2002, the MVP was Miguel Tejada.
Wow. Yeah.
I'll read you his numbers. 308, 34, and 131. But I think the biggest difference, Texas was in last place. Oakland was in the playoffs.
That's got to be.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and Tejada is a shame with him too, because he'll never sniff the Hall of Fame. But he was a winning ball player. He really was. He was a great fielder. All right, slowly. Did he start with the Mets?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
He did. One of those early trades. I don't remember if he was in the minors or not, but they did trade him away. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that. Wow. Yeah. Wow. I remember Melvin Mora the same time.
Yes.
But
this year's Justin Turner, right?
Yep. Yeah. Justin Turner. Oh my God. Yep. Yeah. We could go on and on with guys that meant to trade away, right? Or let go.
Yeah.
All right. We got to continue that conversation, but let's finish up real quick with fun facts. We'll just start a new segment here because we're just almost at 40 minutes, and then people are going to start to tune us out. But so Chris said you didn't have any fun facts. Okay, you can bring. We're going to invite you back. So.
All right. Awesome.
Yep.
So Ken, I'll give you one, Kenny, and then because I have two. I don't know how many you have. You always have like some up your sleeve, but I got to talk about September of 1965, and a lot of people say this was the greatest pitch game ever. So I'm talking about Sandy Koufax pitching a perfect game against the Cubs. Now, a couple of things make this even more amazing that I looked up today, right? First of all, Chris, I don't know if you know this. He pitched against a guy named Bob Henley. It was only his fifth start, and he never became a great pitcher. He was a decent pitcher for the Cubs for a few years, and then got traded around. But that night he was great because he pitched a one hitter, no walks. So there was no walks in the whole game. He pitched a one hitter. Sandy pitched a perfect game. The only run scored on an error. So he pitched, eight shutout innings against the Dodgers. Now, here's what I think made this even better. By the way, that's the Harvey Keene game. If you've been around for a little while, you've heard Vin Scully, the sound of him saying 2-2 to Harvey Keene, swung on and missed. It's kind of a famous audio because he gives the timestamp. He says at 8:43 p.m. The game was only an hour and 43 minutes, by the way. Yeah. Here's what makes this amazing, though. This is in the middle of September, in the middle of a pennant race. The Dodgers and Giants are battling it out. For Colfax to come up with that big of a win, 3 weeks before, Colfax hadn't won a game for 3 weeks that year because 3 weeks before was the famous Juan Marichal, John Roseboro brawl, where Kenny, I know you can go on YouTube and see it, where Marichal, and they always cut this out, where Marichal hits Roseboro over the head with a bat. And a whole big brawl breaks out. One of the other Giants comes out with a bat. And it's an ugly, ugly fight. Colfax was the pitcher on the mound in that game, and they say he was so rattled, by what had happened to Roseboro. Roseboro got hurt, not badly. He was out for a couple of games. But so Colfax went into a little bit of a slump, and he hadn't won a game for 3 weeks. Why is that significant? Because you want to hear his stats from 65? He was 26-8, 26 wins, 8 losses with a 2.04 ERA. Now, what again makes it better, the Dodgers and Giants were battling this again, another era, right? The Dodgers wound up winning 97 games that year. The Giants won 95. So the Dodgers won the pennant. And now think about this. The Giants won 95 and they went home because there was no, no divisions or anything like that. It's just one league. So the Pirates won 90 games. They finished in third place. But that night, the Dodgers and Giants were tied for first place. And so this is in the heat of a pennant race, Colfax goes out and pitches a perfect game. After losing 3 straight over the course of the last 3 weeks, they say mostly because he was so rattled by this brawl.
Wow.
I'll throw this in real quick. His last year was 1966. He retired at the age of 30. And because he just couldn't take the arm pain, right? He was 27-9 in 1966. And he had a 1.73 ERA that year. I mean,
wow.
That's just one of the greatest years ever. We haven't talked too much Christian stuff tonight, but one of the other things about Sandy Koufax is that he totally refused to pitch on the Sabbath in the 65 World Series, as well as in the 66 World Series. So the Dodgers had to have another pitcher, replace him because he totally refused to pitch on the Sabbath. I don't know that you see too many players do that today. In fact, I can't remember, So straw man in his faith said, you know what? I know it's the World Series. And that series went 7 games with the Twins, I believe. I think 66, they swept the Orioles. But anyway, so that's one fun stat. Kenny, give us yours.
All right. So I have 3. We might only have time for 2, so that's fine. I'm going to start with this one because I found this earlier. I thought it was interesting. 1981. Obviously a very weird season because they had the strike in the middle. So they had formatted it so that the team with the best record in the first half would face off against the team with the best record in the second half. But what's so interesting is the 2 teams that had the best record in the NL East and the NL West, which would be the Reds and the Cardinals, neither of them made the playoffs because they didn't finish first in either half. So they were good enough to like have the most wins, but neither of them ended up actually making the playoffs.
That was crazy. It was the
Wow.
Dodgers and the Expos, if I remember right?
Yeah.
That played for that. Wow, that was crazy. But they had Dodgers and Expos played in the final round, if I remember right. But that's crazy. That's a crazy stat. All right, I'll give you another one real quick. Bill Freehan passed away this past week. He was an excellent catcher for a long time with the Detroit Tigers. He started in 11 All-Star games. Again, bygone era. 1967 All-Star game. Bill Freehan. By the way, that All-Star game went 15 innings. It was played in Anaheim. So the National League was the visiting team. Tony Perez hit a home run in the top of the 15, puts the National League ahead 2-1. Rookie Tom Seaver of the Mets comes in the bottom of the 15th and saves the game for the National League. So National League wins 2-1. The more interesting thing I find about that game is that, and I was reading this about Bill Freehan, when he got to the All-Star game, he would play every inning. So he caught all 15 innings of the 1967 All-Star game. I thought that was amazing. But not only that, Carl Yastrzemski, Tony Oliva, Tony Canigliaro, Brooks Robinson, and Harmon Killebrew for the American League played all 15 innings. And in the National League, Hank Aaron, Orlando Cepeda, Roberto Clemente, and Gene Alley, who was a shortstop for the Pirates, played all 15 innings for the National League. Bygone era.
Wow.
Bygone era. Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
That's unbelievable. It really is. Bill Freehan started 11 All-Star games. He finally stopped starting for the American League when Thurman Munson, got good for the Yankees. But he was a great catcher. Not a Hall of Fame player, but was on the Tigers championship team and everything like that. All right, Kenny, give us one more.
All right. This one dates back to very recently, June 15th, 2018. The Pirates and Reds played a game where the final score was 3-2. And the 5 runs scored in that game, none of them were scored on a hit. One was scored on a ground ball double play, another on a sac fly, another on a fielder's choice where the pitcher hit. I'll get back to the pitcher in a second. The pitcher went with a comebacker, and it was an E1, so a run scored, and then a pair of sac flies. So 2018 Reds Pirates, the losing pitcher in that game was your guys' boy, Matt Harvey. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Wow,
that is interesting. That's very interesting. I don't remember that. That's only a couple of years ago. I don't remember that. Poor Matt Harvey. I don't know what to make of him. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. I love that. You had one more. Go ahead. Do it real quick.
All right. This one is with CC Sabathia, who actually just opened up a ballpark right in our neighborhood with all the Indians connections. But in 2008, he actually led both leagues in shutouts. He had 2 before he was traded to the Brewers. And no one ever got 3 shutouts, so he tied there. And then during his 2 months with the Brewers, he had 3 complete game shutouts. Wow. So he led the league, both the American League and the National League.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he led the American League with 2 shots. Man, Sandy Colfax, 1960. No, never mind. Never mind. I think Colfax had like 28 complete games, by the way, in 66. But anyway. Bygone era. But I didn't know that about CC. I tell you, I remember that Brewers run. The Brewers went to the playoffs that year. Yeah. He was great that year.
He was.
That was a great pickup. There's been some of those midseason pickups like that. Randy Johnson, I remember going to the Astros. Cespedes, obviously, but CC is definitely up there with one of the best ones. This has been fun. Justin Verlander,
yeah.
When I was
Do you guys think CC is a Hall of Famer?
Huh. I'd
say he is.
Yeah.
I think he is.
He has 3,000 strikeouts, so I would probably say yeah.
I would put him in. And also
he was great.
And he was big time in the postseason too.
He was. He was.
Which to me, I don't think they count that as much. Otherwise, Andy Pettitte would be in. But to me, that's huge. When you come up big on the big stage, I think that's big. And Sabathia did a lot of times.
He did, yeah.
With 3 different teams, for sure. Guys, this has been a lot of fun. We got to do it again.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Be
This has
good.
been awesome. But I have to go get Leal. So it's getting late. I got to go pick her up. So, Kenny, take us out. You're going to have to figure out a clever way to put Chris in the mix here with the closing.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do that. Just also for the record, so this year, 3 is the league leader in complete games. It's by several people, including, I'm not going to say who, but Zach Wheeler. Sandy Colfax had 27. So, but for now,
Sandy Colfax had 27 that year. He had 27.
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay.
27.
Wow. Okay.
But for now, this is Kenny Squared and
Kenny and
Chris P. I'll see you.
all righty. With sports on the positive tip, we will see you guys next week.
All right, everybody. This has been fun. Thank you, guys.